Young boss up in the booth, bitch. Up on a freestyle. Eastie Boys ENT. This how we get down.
K.O. in the booth on the motherfucking freestyle. Eastie Boys ENT. I'm like, oh yeah.
I step in the box and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I seen a bad bitch, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
her nigga start tripping, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I step that nigga out, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
step up in the box and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
seen a bad bitch, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
took that bitch home, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
hitting that from the back, I'm like,
Oh yeah. Hey, when I'm in it, I'm like, oh yeah. But I don't give a fuck, man. I'm about to unleash all hell up on the pennies. And first I'ma beat a nigga up. I don't give a shit, so y'all niggas know I don't give a fuck. I stay stuck cause I be blowing on them trees, man. I see the fucking bitches getting at the fees, and I stay on my fucking toes. Cause you niggas know these niggas got dudes. I mean these bitches got hoes. What the fuck am I talking about? My name ain't DJ Unk, I can't walk shit out, but I can stomp you out if you wanna trip over your hoe, man. I leave you fucking colder than the fucking snow, man. And then I smoke some dro and go home and sleep like a fucking baby when I'm snoring. Y'all niggas know y'all niggas boring. That's why your bitches on my dick, man. I don't give a shit, y'all niggas tryna get sick, fam.
I step in the box and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I seen a bad bitch, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
her nigga start tripping, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I step that nigga out, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
step up in the box and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
seen a bad bitch, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
took that bitch home, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
hitting that from the back, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah. When I'm all up in her guts, her nigga was tripping, so I beat that nigga up. Push him out. I met this bad little shorty in the club. Took her to my crib and gave her a little bit of love. Thick thighs, what it is though. Girl had a lot of mouth, I gave her dick hoe. I told her shut up and shoved it down her throat. Then it's spinning like Pinocchio. I told her, girl, you don't know me, no. From the streets of the P, they call me K.O. Known as a beast hoe. Beast. From the fucking east hoe. East. Thought that you know. If you didn't know, now you know. About to locate K.O. From the fucking streets of the P.
I step in the box and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I seen a bad bitch, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
her nigga start tripping, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I step that nigga out, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
step up in the box and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
seen a bad bitch, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
took that bitch home, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
hitting that from the back, I'm like,
Oh yeah.